All right, and we are live. Assalamu alaikum, guys. Welcome to the Ummahpreneur live podcast. And in this unique, one-of-a-kind episode, I'm joined today by none other than Nasser Deeb, the creator and founder of the company Expo Hut, which founded the Halal Lifestyle Expo, the first B2B North American Halal Lifestyle Expo, and as well the Kitchen and Bath Canada Expo. And he did this after coming to Canada in 2012. So in less than a decade, in only a span of 8 years, he's been able to start these two expos, and his entrepreneurial experience is just simply unique and outstanding. So I brought him here today to share the experience with you guys and to share his lessons, how he started this expo and this trade show that caters to over 100 plus businesses and 2,000 plus attendees and highlights halal products, services, just like food, financial services, clothing, and so much more. So thank you, Nasser, for being here today. I'm super honored to have you, super excited. And I just wanted to really start the episode by first thanking you and second to have you share with us a little bit about how you got started as an entrepreneur. What was really the first thing that got you excited about starting a business like Expos? Why did you even want to do that?
Well, thank you first, Abby, for giving this opportunity, and I really appreciate the platform that you have created and developed.
Appreciate that,
and I think it has a good potential to go even bigger than that. Well, this is a very a long question or a long answer for it. I started working in the trade show business back in '94, and it came by coincidence that I just came from the States and I decided to apply for jobs like everybody coming to UAE, to Abu Dhabi. That's where I grew up, and end up in a trade show company, and it just took up from there. And I always worked as an entrepreneur, even though I was an employee. I never believed of being an employee, just working as 9 to 5 kind of shift. I always never accepted the status quo. I always gone beyond what the employer had asked me. And I guess because I'd always had my mind set to have my own business one day. And this is where I started to have the passion and the love for the trade show industry and the organizing exhibitions and conferences. Then I moved into different trade show companies, different countries, and worked for top corporates and managed whole companies like in different countries in the Middle East and US. And finally, I had to settle down and find a place where I can call home. Not for me particularly, also for my family and for my children. Mm-hmm. So I chose Canada because I seen that they offer you the opportunity to start from scratch and build something out of nothing. And I always believe in any place I move to, I have to embrace it. If you don't embrace the place where you go, it will not embrace you back. As simple as that. And I always have a positive approach when I move into a new country. It's important. This country has given us so much, and we have to love it. We have to embrace it. And this is how I started. So I came in here as a new immigrant, as you mentioned, 2012. Joined a huge company, like globally the biggest company in the world, called Informa. And Informa started. They decided to buy in 2012, lucky for me, the biggest shows in Canada, and I joined them as the international director for the trade shows, and I launched a couple of shows for them. Then I decided, you know what, it's time to move on. So in 2017, I reopened the company that I started in Dubai in 2006, which is the Expo Hut.
Wow.
I forgot to mention that Expo Hut existed in 2006.
Okay.
And then I have to freeze it because of the 2009 depression or deficit that happened in Dubai.
Right.
I always dreamt that I have to keep that company alive. So I had the opportunity in 2017 to start it. And it went very well. We started and we launched, as you mentioned, the Halal Expo Canada, which is the first B2B trade show dedicated to halal lifestyle, not just food, the whole ecosystem of the halal industry. So this is how we started. And just 6 months ago, we launched another event for the kitchen and bath industry, the first of its kind in Canada.
Wow.
And it's just focusing on the kitchen and bath industry in general.
So you started kitchen and bath fairly recently, around 6 months ago. And that's just actually, it's interesting that you mentioned that because it's really just before the whole pandemic started, actually 6 months ago. I think it started about maybe 3 or 4 months ago now. So it's very recent. It's a new project, and all of a sudden you were faced with this big roadblock. What did you guys do to adjust to that situation, and how did you handle that challenge that you were facing in terms of the pandemic?
Well, yes, we officially announced the show in early February. We have held a nice meeting, breakfast at the Congress Center, where we had invited a number of industry leaders, associations, diplomats, trade commissioners from different countries. It went very well.
Yeah.
And we tied up with the top publication companies to help us promote the show. The promotion started, the campaign started. We started to see a good response coming toward March, and as you know, things are locked down.
Yeah.
We kept it alive. We kept the momentum alive. We keep reaching out to our clients, telling that we are watching carefully and we are looking for your interest. And although the show was in November scheduled, but we had to think in a more wise approach, and we decided to, after this consulting with our leaders and our partners locally and globally, decided to postpone the show to next October.
Okay.
Because it's a new show and we cannot afford to have it in a lower standard. It has to be in the top, not in terms of exhibitors, only in terms of attendees. And this
Right.
is the most important and the crucial part of the trade show is the attendees.
Mm-hmm. Just like in any business, the customer is king, right? It's all about the attendees. If you were to maybe give right now to our listeners who are listening a bit of advice, because I'm sure all of us had a certain challenge that we had to face with the pandemic. We had a struggle that we were maybe faced with because of the current situation and businesses closing up, people not leaving their homes. You adjusted in a very interesting way. You said, all right, we still want to make sure we have the best event possible. Let's reach out to key players in the industry and let's make sure that we take this time to position ourselves in an even more powerful way in our market. Would that be the move that others should also employ if they have other types of businesses? Or as a general recommendation, what would be your advice in that sense?
As far as Halal Expo, let's touch upon the Halal Expo.
Sure, yeah.
It was a successful launch last year. We had it in October. We worked very hard because the concept of B2B show for halal industry was not yet understood so much in North America. Most of the halal industries, halal show events, amazing events, I would say, in North America, US and Canada, were in a consumer base. And for us to find that unique approach, which is the B2B, not because we wanted to do that, we looked at the market. It's a huge growth in the halal industry. And as you experienced, you grew up here, you remember, I don't know if you remember when you were younger, it was challenging to get a halal products or services. But now,
yes,
especially in Montreal or in Toronto, you don't need to even look around. It's all over the place.
It is, yeah.
We realized the importance, but we didn't see a platform that brings that industry to the highest level in the way that it's supposed to be presented. And it's locally but internationally. And we want to bring more international. So we launched that show after a lot of research and just consulting with people and the support of course, community leaders like Dr. Salimi, Dr. Khattab, Sheikh Omar Suleider, and associations that helped us launch this, and ISNA, etc., and Maple Leaf, Maple Lodge, all these big names came forward, and they were so excited that this is finally happening. This is a much awaited event for us that we wanted to get into. And again, when we did the new edition, the second edition, we were impressed and amazed at the response. People were renewing right away, right after we closed the show. October, they started renewing for next year. The show was scheduled for September, and we although we reached almost more than 50% of the space occupancy, we have to think also about that too. It's our second edition. It has to be better and bigger, more international, and more enhanced conference, which we did very nicely. We have international speakers in October, but we want to even make it better and bigger. So we talked to all our affiliate and partners and our community leaders, and of course our sponsors, and they all supported our decision of moving it. But in the meantime, as going back to your question,
Yeah.
we had to go and reach out. We reach out in a way, not just by calling and by meeting. Meeting was difficult, but we met through Zoom and etc. We did some webinars discussing different areas. Like we discussed how halal plays a good role in the health, and especially in the pandemic. We invited doctors, emergency doctors, academic doctors, and pharmaceutical doctors, and they all came and helped us out, giving tips to the community, trying how to cope with this pandemic. And also we did a financial webinar about how to invest in this crisis in a halal way to ensure that you sustain the halal standard in your investment. So that's how we are keeping the momentum. In the meantime,
Right.
we have to reinvent. We have to sit back and think about what we're doing. Try to find creative ways, which really was kind of work for our interest. I would say it was very good in sense that give us some time to rethink, some time to evaluate and restructure our approach, and that's what everybody should do. They should take that time and find ways to come back stronger, and we will come back stronger.
Definitely, 100%. And you mentioned a really good strategy, which is what everyone should do in this time, which is you didn't just sit back and be like, oh man, we can't do the trade show. There's nothing we can do. Let's just wait it out. You're like, okay, what can we do to maintain an online presence? What can we do to still be at the forefront of our industry and keep highlighting how this halal lifestyle industry is still booming and there's growth in it? And you found a way to do that, as you mentioned, by bringing on doctors, by bringing on professionals and experts to highlight these topics online through webinars and through online events. And I think that's an amazing strategy. Nasser, I have a question for you. And it's, when it comes to creating an expo like this is a big project, like the Halal Lifestyle Expo. It's huge. You have 100 plus businesses. You have 2,000 plus attendees that come in. There's, so much that goes into a project like this. Is this something that an entrepreneur that's just starting off could do, or is it something that you can only do, let's say, if you had investors, if you had a huge team, if someone had an idea for an expo, they had an idea for a local event, is there any realistic way that they could get that done, or do they really need some sort of team or investment behind them?
Well, that's a good question. It's a good question, and again, it's a difficult to answer on.
Sure.
but what I would say is, I speak from a trade show perspective, not
sure.
from a general perspective of events, because I never done events. I've done mainly like B2B and conferences. They are not similar to the public events. They're more complicated because you're dealing with companies. You're dealing with people who are very particular about certain things. You have to be very detail oriented. You have to plan. You have to have a lot of patience, because trade shows cannot just go in one day, in 1 year, or it takes 3 to 5 years to actually see that the show is actually reaching where you want it to be reached. So a lot of people try attempting to do trade shows, and they fail because they didn't understand. They've never done it before, or they never had the patience, and they don't want to invest the time and money to build it. And trade show is about building. You don't expect to make money right away. You need to think 3 to 5 years in advance.
Right.
And the planning stage it's complicated. It starts, especially when you launch a show, it's much more difficult, because you have to first research and develop and find a niche and compare and look at so many elements of the organizing. And once you do that, you reach to the next level, which is execution, and it consists of operations, marketing, sales, and that's it's like, I don't know if you're familiar with the project management.
Right.
It's more. It has everything in one. Like, you're putting everything together, from the branding, development, R&D, branding, and then introducing the show. So that's and it's difficult because in our business, you're expecting people to invest sometimes a year in advance, and to start a new show, we as organizer, because I'm actually certified in trade shows, and I've been doing it for a long time. So it takes minimum 18 months to launch a new show. minimum, sometimes 2 years.
That's a long time to plan.
Yeah, because it's a new show. It's not just something, especially if you're looking at from an international perspective, you're looking at to attract international people. Requires travel, requires investment, marketing, connection. Is so much work and details. It has to be a lot of details has to be put in place in order to put the show in perspective. So it's not something I can describe
Of course.
It's a lot of process. People underestimate the trade show business. They say, oh, they come into the show, they see it, oh, that's it, that's nice, that must be easy. So what do you do next? A lot of people ask me, so what is your real job? What do you do? I said, I do trade shows. No, that's okay, that's for now, for the next 1 week. But what about the rest of the year? I said, I do for the next show. And that's where I have unless somebody is from the trade show industry, most people, also exhibitors understand because they know they are with us all the time. But aside from that, when someone who's like just outsider, they look at our business as a very simple.
It's interesting because when you walk into a business or you walk into a events like this, it's like seeing the thing when it's done, when it's perfect and it's presented to you. You always think it didn't take much work, but the work that went into it is immense. And for the people listening now, the entrepreneurs that are watching and that will listen to this podcast, I mean, a lot of times we work on a business and we work for a very long time before we see profit. We work for a very long time before we see any results. And I think the biggest reason why sometimes people stop working on a business, they stop working on a project, is they don't see results fast enough. They're not profitable fast enough. They think they're going to start and the next day it's going to be easy. They're going to be making money and they're going to quit their job. And most of the time, it's not how it works. You're working on a project, Nasser, that you just mentioned. It's once a year. The entire year is spent planning for this event, this major event. And then after that, you're just planning again and again. And it takes years before it becomes profitable. So my question to you is, Nasser, it takes a certain mindset to be able to work on this, to work on a project like this, where you're spending your entire year for a certain project, for a certain event. And also, you know that all this work that I'm putting in will reward me in the future. It's coming. It's not going to be right away, but I believe in what I'm doing and it's coming eventually. Can you tell me a bit about that? What that mindset looks like? What kind of mentality does it require to have such a business where you're playing for such a long-term game, right? Like it's so long-term, this type of business model. How do you do it? How do you survive? How do you stay motivated every single day?
It's very simple. It's one word. It's called passion. If you don't have the passion for trade shows, then I would say not to waste your time. It's passion, it's experience, and it's a good team. That's most important, is the team that you work with. They also have to adapt to the passion that you have, and they have to see your vision. And once you achieve that, it'll be easier for you to launch a successful show. I launched a number of shows, not only in Canada, in different countries. And I must say, because of my team and their determination and being so patient, we had put up a lot of good shows together. And it's everybody who works with us, even though they come from different industry, once they see the excitement, because you build it, and I don't know if you're familiar with Woodstock.
Right. Yes.
Will come. So it's like you have it in your mind. It's like a very virtual. It's not yet actual. It's like non-tangible, and it becomes tangible once you cut the ribbon or you do the opening ceremony, and you feel that sense of relief and sense of excitement and achievement that I cannot describe it to you. It's just sometimes it makes your eyes glitter, because it's such a great feeling after all the hard work. And sometimes when we are preparing for the show, then the 2 days prior to the show, we are on the site. So we sleep, like, maybe if we're lucky, we sleep an hour.
Wow.
On the show, how big it is. Everybody's so tired, but once we open the show, everybody's so relaxed and so relieved and excited.
That's amazing. And Nasser, you went and not only created the Halal Lifestyle Expo, but then you're like, all right, let's go ahead and put together a second show, Kitchen and Bath Canada as well, the Kitchen and Bath Expo. What inspired you to start the Kitchen and Bath Expo? What was the idea behind that? And why did you choose that industry specifically?
Okay. So I was part of the building show in Canada. I was director of international development. And I looked at the niche for the stone industry, because when I was traveling for different trade shows, and I see also people coming to our building show, found out that there's a demand for stone industry. So when I launched this, it was needed in Canada. We didn't have a dedicated show for the stone industry, and it went very successful. And I looked at, when I started my own, again, the Expo, I reopened it. I looked at what are the missing industries that you cannot just include in a mass show or in a comprehensive show. I looked at an area which is kitchen and bath. I did my study and I did my research on it with my team, and we looked at so many areas where most of our Canadians kitchen and bath industry suppliers or buyers or whatever, they travel the distance. They go to Italy, they go to States to attend, or China, to Shanghai. But the thing is, there's nothing for us here. And I feel Canada is ready for the standalone shows, like the focused one, not the general ones, because we have so much to offer. The kitchen and bath industry now in Canada, it's skyrocketing for the last 5 years. It's been increasing in a magnitude of 50% almost than they used to be. As you know, as people are becoming more cocky now. They want to renovate their kitchen. They want to have a new bathroom, and kitchen and bath is not just about the countertops. You're talking about everything in the kitchen and bath, from the piping to the faucet to the covering, everything that you see in the kitchen, the appliances, kitchenware, name it, the design aspect of it. So that's where we found that Canada deserved to have its own show, and it's for it. And when we launched it in last February, everybody was telling us, "You're late. We were waiting for such a
wow
to come up." And it's gonna grow, and not as big as U.S. market, but for Canadian market, it will grow the way it should grow. And I think it's a good thing we make it easier for our Canadian clients not to travel all the way and spend money. Bring it home. We bring international to you, and that's what we're working on. We're working with Turkey, we're working with Italy, we're working with China and other countries to bring them all the manufacturers to come here and partner with the suppliers here. So that's what we're doing.
Amazing. And Nasser, your business model is almost, when you talk about it like that, it sounds like you're really serving as the middleman. You're saying, okay, how can I connect these businesses and these Canadian enterprises to potentially new clients and new business? And it's what you've done in the kitchen and bath, and what you're going to do with this expo, and it's what you've done in the halal lifestyle industry as well. So there's definitely power in connections, but it needs to go both ways. You need to access the businesses, and then you need to access the people that will also work with the businesses. And halal lifestyle is B2B, so you need to get potential clients and you need to get the exhibitors. So there's a lot of networking and marketing involved. How do you approach the expo from a marketing standpoint? Do you usually just rely on advertising? Do you rely on word of mouth? Do you rely on social media? What do you do exactly?
It's a formula. It's a big formula. We have to integrate so many elements, not just media, print and digital and social media. So many things. We meet people locally, internationally. We travel. We do a lot of things. It's a lot of a process for us to market and sell it. Marketing starts and then selling goes next, as in any business, but it's much more, how to say, has more activities than a normal business, because you're not selling something tangible. Like if I would tell you, this is a mobile, I show it to you, you try it, okay, it's done. But I'm telling you something that will happen in a year, and you just have a vision. You just have like an image of that show, but you're not actually in the show yet. And to make you believe in that, we have to be very credible. We have to show the credibility. We have to show our strength. We have to show our presence. So it takes a lot of investment and resources to achieve that. And this is where we are strong at. We make sure that we use what we know best, in trade show formula, marketing, and that's how we achieve success. And would work with partners. That's most important. The partners, globally and locally, they are the one who's always supporting us.
Beautiful. So it sounds like there's really it's not one specific activity, but it's a culmination of activities, and it's also having a team with you and partners with you that are going to help you on the journey. And I think that's something that any business owner can relate to when they're listening to this, is the importance of having a team behind you, the importance of making the right connections, and not only relying on one source of marketing, but also, spreading and making sure that you're available on all platforms, whether it's social, as you mentioned, print, and other types of advertising, social media, and networking. You try to get into as many as possible. I think that's very key. Nasser, I have one more question for you in regards to the Halal Lifestyle Expo, and it's this. You came in and you saw a need within the halal lifestyle industry. You saw it's a booming industry. As you mentioned earlier, I grew up in Canada. I was born and raised here. And when I was young, there was no such thing as walking into a grocery store and having zabiha halal just available on the countertops. That was not something that happened. And we had to go to specific butchers, and you had to kind of know the butchers. And it was a different type of lifestyle. Now it's much easier. It's more accessible. And you're like, all right, I want to take this to the next level. What made you feel like Canada was ready for this type of expo? They were ready for this type of expo to highlight the industry, and they were ready for it to grow the industry. What inspired you to get started in that field?
Well, there are so many factors that played a major role on my decision. First of all, Canada has been attracting a lot of Muslims in the last 5 years, particularly. Right. We have reached a number that it's staggering. Like we are now estimate I think we passed 1.5 million Muslims, particularly in the GTA area. There are like 60% are in the GTA, and so there is so much demand into this. And these are the registered numbers I'm talking about. There are many Muslims maybe we have not yet reached out to. So when we looked at the market and we see the trend, we saw that there are much more growth. You see companies like for example, you see Adonis. I'm talking about trying to relate to your area.
Yes.
Adonis in the last few years opened 3 branches in GTA.
Yeah.
There's one just across the street from my house, and so that shows you that why they're. I'm not saying it's a completely halal store, but they have a lot of halal products. And it's catering to mainly us, but of course non-Muslim as well, non-Arabs. But it's a place where we can find everything. And this is even me, or coming to Canada in 2012, I didn't see so many places to go, like many choices. You go to every, I would say 1 kilometer, there's a halal place or halal clothing or cosmetic. So there are so much demand, but unfortunately there's not enough supply. And the reason why, because the international having difficulty to access the market, and if they find one buyer, it's only one buyer, and he controls that product. So they want to go mass, and Canada is vast, as you know. You find the product in, for example, in Montreal, but you might not find it in Edmonton. And this is where we're trying to offer the platform. And the platform is not. You can look at it as a middleman, but it's basically we provide the platform. And it's up to you to make the best of it. So we make sure we give you the trade platform to meet your buyers, your suppliers. But it's up to you how to make the best of it. We will advertise it, we'll promote it, we'll bring you the targeted audience that you need, like the wholesalers and the others, and people who are interested to invest in that industry. But it's how you as an exhibitor will benefit from that, and how you showcase your booth, your products, you prepare yourself, and we always educate our exhibitors. That's why book in advance, book in a year in advance.
Right.
It takes time for you as an exhibitor to prepare. You have to prepare yourself. If your branding is not strong, you have to strengthen your brand. If you have to deal with the digital media like yourself, for example, Abby, go and reach out to those people. Try to fix a video for yourself. Try to do this. There's so many things you have to prepare for. Your booth, your staffing has to be trained. So don't just come into the show without being prepared. And that's what we encourage people. So this is
preparation.
This is where I started the idea, and this is where we end up When we talk to the ISNA and we talk to Dr. Salimi and Sheikh Omar from HMA, we talk to so many partners, and of course the biggest company like Maple Leaf and Maple Lodge, they all welcomed the idea. They said this is a much awaited event for us, because we want to meet not only the consumer, we want to meet those businesses. We want to meet, if I'm a franchise halal, I want to look at an investor who wants to invest in my franchise. If I want to promote my cosmetic products, like we have a guy from Chicago, another guy from Canada, they promote cosmetics halal based, and they want to only sell online. They want to find an outlet where they can showcase their products, and this is where the time was right, and when we did it, we received a good response. We actually been asked to. We had it for 2 days, and when we did the survey among exhibitors and attendees, we were strongly recommended to make it at least one more day. So for the next time in June, it will be Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. So anybody who missed the 2 days, they have no excuse to come, but not to come on Saturday. So that's where we were at, and we think this show has a great potential. We're looking at expanding it to different regions, but we're still studying that. But definitely, it's something that made us as halal industry to showcase ourselves in a much higher level. I had a guy who was telling me that it's the first time I come into halal gathering that I have to wear a suit and a tie. That was nice. I had to ask some of our sheikhs, I want you to wear a Western clothes, and they have to say, of course we'll do that. It was interesting. It was funny. It was to see all these guys together. We developed a sense of unity. The whole community come together, and they all start discussing the differences and try to agree on working together, unifying. So this is one of the objectives of the show. It's not just to do trade; it's to unify the community, unify the business community.
Beautiful.
And this is what we're trying to achieve in a bigger way, to get the sense of unity, to strengthen this market that has so much potential. And believe it or not, a lot of non-Muslims now are buying halal products. And this is for my surprise and probably your surprise. More people are buying from the butcher of halal than even us sometimes. I don't know about Montreal, but this is what happens.
100%. And I mean, we can both relate to, I can really relate to what you're saying. And honestly, I think we can get along on that point where even with Ummahpreneur and this project here, it's all about really bringing something to the Muslim community where we can level up as entrepreneurs, create these businesses that not only appeal specifically to Muslims, but also to everyone, and to really show that, look, you can come and buy halal and it's going to be amazing quality, and it's going to be even better than what you'd normally buy elsewhere. And these, not only the branding, but the products, but the services, everything is on point. And that's what we try to do on Ummahpreneur. That's what you're doing with the Halal Lifestyle Expo. And that's why I admire it so much and wanted you to come on. So Nasser, I have one more for you. And it's with the Halal Lifestyle Expo, you brought so many exhibitors, you brought so many attendees together, and you were forced to put a pause on it for this year. You want to come back the next year, inshallah, stronger. You guys are going to do in Toronto. Do you plan to do other locations and expand and maybe do more events in different parts of the world? Because I'm sure more people want to join, more people want to sign up and take part in this.
As a matter of fact, we've been asked by a number of people to come into their place. We're taking, I won't say baby step, but we're taking a very cautious step because, as I mentioned, trade shows are not something that to be taken lightly. You have to make sure that you build a good brand and move to the next level. So for us, at this early stage, we are just on our second edition. We could have been on our third edition if it wasn't for the pandemic. But on the second edition, usually you want to make sure that you get it to the level where it's secured and it's done, and you can just let it grow.
Right.
Definitely, we have a plan, but it's not an early plan. It's something that we will say next year. It could be somewhere in the next year and a half, 2 years. We are planning. So we're still talking to different places. There are halal, of course, halal shows around the world. There are like same format B2B. We are partnered with the biggest halal show in Malaysia. We are their
Beautiful. Wow.
representative in North America, US, and Canada, and we also exhibit as a pavilion. We take Canadian companies, and we as a Halal Expo, we have our own booth, and we promote our halal lifestyle industry in that show. It's a huge show. It's more than 1,000 exhibitors and 40,000 attendees around the world. It's the mother of all. And there's another one in Turkey that we attended. There are so many shows, and be surprised to you. There are a couple of small events, one in Korea, one in Japan.
Wow, amazing! And I've been to Japan. It's such a beautiful country.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, one of our team members supposed to be going to Tokyo to meet with the Muslim community. There are a lot of Muslims now growing in Japan, and not only those non-Japanese, also the Japanese Muslims, and this is interesting. I never knew myself until I started to do my I met them in Turkey and in Turkey and Malaysia in Kuala Lumpur, and they actually invited us to come to meet with their Islamic associations. But we had actually a couple of Korean companies at Halal Expo, Halal.
Beautiful.
Halal certified, yes. They came from Korea actually. They came last October.
Amazing. So I love that, you're already getting interest worldwide. You're getting interest from Malaysia, Korea, Japan, all these beautiful countries. And I mean, a little known fact about Malaysia, I believe, and the last time I checked, it was the country, well, the biggest country that had the most Muslims within it, right? The biggest Muslim population within one country was in Malaysia.
Indonesia, but yeah, Malaysia.
Indonesia, right. Okay. Yeah, so that whole area, and I might be mistaken, guys. I'm just trying to remember, but from what, it's impressive because you'd think it would be in the Middle East, right?
They have a big number of Muslims. The huge majority are Muslims. There are more than 80 million Muslims in Malaysia. So it's a big number of, if you compare it to the Arab countries, it's a big number. For
sure. So Nasser, I want to thank you for all this information. I have a question that I asked to all my guests before we dive into the Q&A portion. Alhamdulillah, we have a lot of questions coming in from the audience, so I'd love to look at them with you. But before we do, I want to ask you, Nasser, what's the greatest lesson that you've learned from being an entrepreneur? From all these years of entrepreneurship and starting these businesses and these expos, what was the greatest lesson that you've learned? And you can take your time to answer me because it might be a hard one.
There's so many lessons you learned from having a business. One of the lessons I learned is never give up. Like if you have an idea in mind, just stick with it. And if you know that it's gonna work, just do your best and keep trying. There's no shame in failure in business. It's not me saying that. It's a lot of the people who are, of course, made it to the top. They said we failed more than we succeeded. And that's how it works. If you don't fail, you don't strengthen yourself. So I believe that I learned that you need to fail. It's okay to fail in order to succeed. And it's something that I wouldn't say that I was always doing great. I had my ups and downs. I had my struggle. I had a time where I don't know what else I can do. There were so many, but it was a try and error. You have to. And it helped me. Like every time you do something in life, never regret. It's a lesson you learn, and it adds to your strength, and it makes you much stronger and much more resilient. And give you more of the risk-taking approach in anything. So the more you know, the more you learn, the more you try things, and the more you meet with people, you become stronger because your experience comes with not only from what you study in school, it's what you do after. That's what I always tell people. Don't think that when you graduate, it means that you have learned everything. No, this is where you start learning. And it takes a lot of time. And if people think that I can do it and I know everything, that's impossible. Even me, I've been doing trade show for 27 plus years.
Wow.
I'm still learning, and I still think myself I'm still not even 100%. I'm like 60% where I have to be, and that's That's how everybody should believe in
Of
themselves.
course.
Not to say, I'm done, I know what I'm doing, and that's where people end up, having mistakes and problems.
And I completely agree. And I think that's really the testament of having a growth mindset, which is to be able to face failure and not take it as a personal failure or this means that I'm a failure, but instead realize that you're trying something new and maybe you won't succeed the first time, which usually happens when you try something new, and to keep going and learn from it. And I think for every person that I've talked to that has, really kind of devoted themselves to a certain industry or devoted themselves to a passion to learn about a certain topic, all of them will say that the more they learn, the less they feel like they know. Because, I mean, knowledge is an endless sea, and we can only in our short lives get a simple drop of that knowledge, of that sea. So, look, guys, don't get overwhelmed when you face failure, when you face rejection, when you face struggles in your business. Just like Nasser said, don't give up. And it's the biggest lesson he's learned from being an entrepreneur. Now, Nasser, we have a few questions from Q&A from audience here that want to ask you, and they're curious about your experience. They want to know your answers. Are you ready to dive in?
Okay, that's it.
All right, let's do it. So we're going to do our Q&A portion right now, guys. So if you have any questions for Nasser, go ahead and drop them in the comments, inshallah, and we'll be answering them as we go. And let's dive into the first one here, which I have, one second, from Sister Faye here. And she says, let's go ahead and pull that up here. So she says, with years of expertise, as a newbie that wants to start within the halal industry, they want to start a business within the halal industry, can you give them a powerful strategy that they can use for their business? Because they feel like there is still some discrimination in the world that they live in. So do you have any advice for someone who might be wanting to start a business in the halal industry? They feel like there still might be some discrimination involved. They might miss out on some potential business. What can we tell that person?
I personally believe that if you believe in yourself and you keep your identity and be proud of who you are and be open-minded and be optimistic, this is the way to make it in anywhere. Like, you don't need to worry about if you think the product is successful or the service of halal that you're developing is going to be successful and it's going to work. Go for it and don't stop there because there are growth and people also now they relate halal to healthy living, not just Muslims. People prefer to use halal-based product.
Yeah,
the cosmetics, they believe that because it's organic and it's have natural ingredients, so a lot of non-Muslims use halal cosmetics. Like for example, the clothing. And Nike just launched a beautiful burkini. So
yes, that's true.
Majority, I would put it to her this way, to Sister Faye. The majority of the companies that we deal with in halal, especially in Canada, forget about international, they are non-Muslim companies. So they are entering that market, and they are non-Muslims because they see the potential. So imagine us. There are a lot of opportunity. I encourage everybody to get in there. If you don't know what to start a business, you're welcome to attend our show. Reach out to me or reach out to Brother Abby. We'd be happy to give you even a free invite.
Beautiful.
Charge you on the door. Don't worry. If it's coming. But we will encourage you to come and attend the show and meet our domestic and international manufacturer and service provider for halal industry, and see they are all of them offering sometimes franchise. Sometimes offering you a clothing line that you want to start. So I would say it's the best business to get into. And a lot of our companies now looking at to exporting their halal products. That's why we're taking them to Halal Expo in Malaysia, because they want to export the Kenyan halal products to the world, because it's endless opportunity. And I would say, no, do not feel about there's no such a thing called discrimination when it comes to business. People, even if they were, all respect, even if they discriminate against our beautiful culture and religion, they still want to do business.
Yeah, it's true. Interesting.
If they find an opportunity, they will never say no to it. And this is where, and I think we're blessed to live in a country. So far, we're blessed that we have a great leadership. We have a great country to live in, and where diversity is our first priority.
Yeah.
And I think this is where we should take advantage and leverage. And that's why I lived in different countries. I traveled so many places, but I call Canada home, and I love this country because it's really it has a lot to offer. But we just
Yeah.
have to be optimistic and positive, and not to look back, and call it at home. Like you have to resonate here. You have to cultivate your presence in this country. Once you do that, then you are a winner. I would doubt
Beautiful.
if you will fail. You know.
Amazing, mashallah. And I completely agree, honestly. Again, I'm born and raised here, so I might be biased, but I absolutely love this country. I love everything they offer. And I mean, it is unfortunate to say, but I would definitely attest that this is, it's much better to live here than it is to live in a lot of Arab countries. So, I mean, it's important to embrace it and to do it the best that we can and give a positive image of Islam and of Muslims. And I think the Halal Lifestyle Expo, what you're doing is a great example and testament of that, Nasser. So I want to thank you for that personally. We have a few more questions here that we'll dive into, about 2 or 3 more. One of them I'm really interested in getting your answer, Nasser, and I'm excited to hear what you have to say. And it's from Juman, and it's, you mentioned you had a team with you. How did you manage to pick team members who had the same vision as you and making sure that their work aligned with your goals and represented your company's message authentically? So how did you pick your team members and find people who were really buying into your vision and wanted to do what you wanted to do with your company?
I think when you are as a leader or as a person running a business, if you show the passion and the love to the particular business you're doing, it reflects in your staff. The way that you describe it to them, the way they buy into it, it's how you play it. My team is a multicultural. There are different. I even have nicely from China. I have different, and also we have our international agency, which is based in different countries. We have like in Italy, we have in China, we have in India, we have in Turkey. We work with different and Malaysia as well. So we work with different in the office. We're not a huge team. We're a small team. We consist of 5, but we work because we are organized. So we outsource so many of the services to contractors, suppliers. We work with freelancers. So many people that we work with to come up with this idea. But our core team in Toronto, if this is a question,
yeah,
are 5, and how I picked them is based on in the integrity and the way they are. They have the love to our business, and if they buy, they first have to buy into our concept. Once they buy into the concept, the rest is our problem. We don't necessarily ask people to be top experience in trade shows. We just have to see that hunger, and they want to learn, and they will become better than me at the end. That's what happens in many cases. I train people, and they become they start telling me what to do. Like I was like, okay, and this is how it is. You work with people who tell you how things, because you don't know everything. It's like you don't pretend to be a designer or like a video editor or this or a planner. You can manage a team, but doesn't necessarily every aspect of it. But you have to make sure that you give them the right environment and you support them and you stand by them. That's how I perceive it. So,
that's an amazing answer, and I completely agree with that, because again, and it really it's a testament to yourself as a leader, because a proper leader is going to look for team members who are actually, instead of trying to find people who maybe they're less better than you, or they're less skilled than you in their profession, which just so you can feel like you can raise your ego and feel like I'm the best around. You want to hire people who actually outshine you in their fields and in their expertise, so that they can come in and do a better job. I mean, that's the entire purpose of it, right? And I think that's the difference between a powerful organization and one that might be struggling. And that's a testament to yourself as a leader, which is you're not afraid to be told that you're wrong in certain areas, and not afraid to listen to your team members and get their ideas and their opinions. And I think that's what really makes a powerful and successful organization. We have one more here for you. Go ahead.
You cannot work. But you cannot work.
Yeah, go for it.
Alone. Like we say, it takes two to tango. To clap, you need two hands. You can't clap.
That's true.
It's a teamwork, and they help us lead the way. Like we work together, and they are the one. Like we always, every time we take a decision, we sit around and we say, so what do you guys think? We should do this or we should do that, and we take a vote, and whoever majority who agrees on this, we go with it. If not, we don't. We change it. Uh, it's we don't take decisions. We don't treat our employees as our staff. We treat them as our partners. They are part of this company. They help shape the success of this company, and we make them feel like it's their own business, and that's how they operate. Once you make them feel it's their own business, and you support them in that sense, you will be more relaxed that way.
Yeah.
It will be more easier to work. You don't have to worry about their loyalty or their dishonesty, because this is their business. This is their their own baby, basically. And you make them have this sense of ownership. Like when it comes to trade show, you let them feel like this is your show. This is our show. This is where we want to make it happen. And when we open the show, we celebrate together. Like we get very excited. Like, oh, we did it, together.
Of course. And that brings me actually to a question that someone asked, which was, how do you keep the energy high during the planning stage? Because you're working all year towards that. We talked a bit about motivation and consistency and passion. But even within your team as an organization, how do you guys show up every day energetically and still maintain that energy high? Let's say when you're 6 months out from the show date.
Because the one thing about trade shows that I noticed over the years, it's an ever changing business. It's every day it's a new challenge. Every day it's a problem. Every day there's some things that you have to adjust based on circumstances. And this is what keeps it more exciting, more motivating. It's not a routine work. You have to always create, reinvent. You try, for example, a marketing campaign. You look at an analysis. Oh, this wasn't very successful. So we go back and say, oh, where we went wrong. Let's try to do this. So it's always you cannot follow the same rhythm and the same style every time you do the show. You have to look at the changes. You have to look at the market that you're dealing with, the industry that you're working with. You have to look at, and you're always different places. You have to be always out and about. From a sales perspective, you have to be out about. From even operation, creative. We take our team, even if they're doing marketing or creative work, or they're doing operation, we take them to different events or different trade shows. They take ideas. They look at stuff. They don't necessarily have to sell the show because they're not into the sales, but they will go and adapt new concept, adapt new ideas, and this is where we all work together. We have to know everything about the show business, and so we involve them in every aspect.
So there's a lot to learn. It's new.
If you involve your team in every aspect, then you will win at the end, because they will give you a better results than you expect, and that's how. But if you keep them isolated and say, like in a big corporation, you are a number. I'm sorry, with all the respect to work with, but in a trade show business, you have to have a small team and a family team. Like everybody has to be involved. In a big corporation, if you work there, you are asked to do certain jobs, and that's it. And you're not allowed to get involved in other jobs. You can spend 5 years, and you ask what you've learned. I only learned how to type this, how to do this. But have you done anything else? No, I only done this. I'm not allowed to touch my boss. There's no boss. We are all team members. We work together. On the show floor, I could be moving something from the floor. Somebody else can be running around doing this. I go grab food. Somebody goes do this. So there's no hierarchy, I would say.
Right.
But there's a leader, but there's no hierarchy, I would say.
And that's exactly, there's a difference between being a leader and a dictator is exactly what that sounds like. We have one quick question as well, and this is the last one from the audience, and it's, are there non-Muslims? Go ahead.
So
amazing. So are there non-Muslims and let me just see here, that are participating in the Halal Expo. And I'm also curious to know, can non-Muslims participate? Do some non-Muslim businesses participate? You mentioned Nike has the Burkini. Has any non-Muslim businesses joined the Expo yet?
As I mentioned, majority of the Canadian companies that participate in our show, they're non-Muslim companies.
Oh, wow.
Companies. So, and the attendees are a mix. Things about our show is not a community culture event; it's a business event. So you have from the exhibitors and the attendees a great mix.
Yeah.
Because we are not discussing, we're not discussing about religion.
Yes.
Or about who's right, who's wrong, who's the profit of this. We're discussing mainly the potential of this product and services.
Yeah.
The framework of halal lifestyle. So to answer your question, this is not targeting Muslims.
Yeah.
This is targeting everybody who is interested to enter that or penetrate that untapped opportunities of halal industry market that is growing in a very fast pace, as I mentioned.
And I think that's really the key, is that it's a lot of times we have a lot of events that are isolated, that are closed off, Muslims only. And I think that's actually counterintuitive, especially your event is in North America. And whether you're in any country right now, the whole point is to be more open and inclusive, to show others, hey, you can come and participate. And these are real businesses. This is a booming industry, and there's a lot of potential for you here. And I think just that in itself is a form of da'wah, or calling to Islam, where you don't have to talk about Islam. You don't have to, spread the message and tell them, listen, you're wrong or I'm right. It's just, hey, listen, this is what we do, and let's go ahead and do it together and bring you in, bring other non-Muslim businesses and let them showcase as well. And I think that is part of it, and it's a huge part of it. And it's what we try to do at Ummahpreneur as well, which is through entrepreneurship, through business, that in itself is a form of changing the narrative of Islam that sometimes goes in the media.
I think to echo what you said, we spread our message through example. Like, we have to lead by example.
Yeah.
We need to always say, hey, as you said, Islam. It's how we lead. And in our trade show, we show a great diversity. We show, in the conference panelists, and the speakers, a lot of them were Christian, Jews, and they were involved in topics that it's kind of related to what we're discussing in Halal Lifestyle industry. And we were, one of our panelists talking about the healthcare and the care, home cares for elderly. And we were talking from a Muslim perspective that we like to create a home care for Muslim elderly that has halal food and this. But we were surprised that even from our brothers who are Christians, they also like to have similar environment for their elderly. So that was a lot of discussion. Another guy was discussing about the halal franchise, who was not even a Muslim, and he is a very big supporter of our halal industry. So there are. This is where we're trying to send out the message. Like, we are want you to be part of our market, part of our business. We are welcome. We don't look at we welcome everybody, like our Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. He had a Jewish neighbor, Christian neighbors, people support him who are non-Muslim, and he made a good friendship with the people of faith. So that's where we need to follow the path. We are diverse religion. We are a loving religion. We don't need to think about all these nonsense things that we let people portray in the media.
And I think that's exactly the key. Now, Nasser, you've dropped a lot of gems on this episode today. And mashallah, I mean, just from the comments, there's so many people who are saying just how much impact they've got, how many insights they've gotten from this episode, from all of your answers. So I wanted to thank you from the bottom of my heart and on behalf of the audience today for taking the time to be with us. How can people support you, support your work, support the Expo Hut, Halal Expo Kitchen and Bath? What can they do?
I encourage all of you to visit our website, halalexpocanada.com. You can see a lot of videos. We have a YouTube channel, and also follow us on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram. We also encourage you guys to all attend the show. If you're an exhibitor or attendees, it doesn't matter. We want you to be part of it. It's a great platform. It's growing, and with your support, it will go bigger. As far as Kitchen and Bath, KBC Expo, kbcexpo.com. If you are in the business of kitchen and bath or related business of the design and tiles and ceramic and stones, this is the place where you want to be. It's a targeted event that only targets to that niche.
Beautiful.
And it's a place where you don't have to waste your time. You will meet the exact person that you want to meet. You don't want to meet somebody who just walk in the show floor. So this is where we hope, and we thank you so much, Abby. Was amazing. I need to go back to what I do. I have a lot of preparation to work.
Of course.
Announce our new dates for the Halal Expo and the kitchen and bath, and it's much to do to connect. But I appreciate this. This is,
of course, it was a pleasure to have you.
All the best, because I think you have a good potential to grow this into a very, very big business.
I appreciate that very much, Nasser.
Yeah,
it means a lot coming from you, brother. And you heard it, guys. Make sure to go to halalexpocanada.com, support Nasser, support his work. Follow them on Facebook, LinkedIn, and all social media platforms. And if you're in Canada, if you happen to be in North America, make sure to also drive and attend the expo, or even sign up as an exhibitor on the website, because there's so much potential within that event. And I just wanted to thank you again one more time, Nasser. Thank you for having us here and for being on this podcast. It was a pleasure to have you. Take care, guys. See you next week. Assalamu alaikum.